Welcome back, everybody, here to The Score, 92.3 FM and 1490 AM from the Score Sports Closet. I'm Joey Kieran, Off the Wall, presented by BTB Moving. Well, we continue on with this Friday edition of the program, very heavy in the sport of football, but, it's football season, so why the heck not? As we gear up for high school football coming up here in just a few more weeks, we are going to talk with head coach of the Roseburg High School football program, Dave Heuberger, joining us on the program. The Roseburg football is going to kick off the season September 3rd at home against Summit, and that is a game, obviously, you'll be able to follow all season long. The Roseburg Indians right here on the Score, 92.3 FM and 1490 AM, and online at 541radio.com. Coach, thanks so much for the time here this afternoon. You guys got a practice under your belt already today. Hey, getting back into it in the fall, it's got to feel pretty good to be back into things here in a normal setting for high school football.
Yeah, the setting's about the only thing normal about it, probably, between the smoke index, the heat index, and the COVID index, or whatever you want to call it. So it's good to, at least moving forward, as it's going to be a normal season. Absolutely, it's been great getting them back out there and having some normalcy to it.
I'm always kind of curious, and I've talked with plenty of athletes a lot during their summer there with the docks and whatnot, and talked to guys about what last season was like, to go through that and how that might have affected things. Looking at, you guys played a season later on, there was a lot of uncertainty about it. You only got in a few games. What did that do to development for football players and maybe just athletes in general? What did last season really mean in the terms of development for student athletes at the high school level?
Well, it's kind of unique because normally you'd have 9 months after that season, to kind of develop things and get kids in the weight room and do all that. And so you're looking at a much shorter time frame to get booted back up. And you start looking at a lot of our kids at Roseburg High School are multi-sport athletes, and man, we sure asked a lot of them over the last year and a half. Showing up unsure of if they could have a season, then they got one, and then cramming all those seasons into a short window. And if you're a Docks guy, then you're back out going straight into Docks or Pepsi, and then you got the football coach saying, "Hey, it's August, whatever, it's time to do football." So it put a lot of wear and tear on them. I think, to be honest with you, I think it burned some of our kids out a little bit. The thing it did do for them, it gave them something to, be a part of and obviously get better. And, we're never going to complain about opportunities to compete. So,
yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that it's kind of a short turnaround. Normally you've got months on months before you get done with the season and start getting really ready for the next one. And I know you get some spring practices in there and then start doing some stuff over the summer. But it was pretty much 5 months since the last time you guys suited up in an actual game to when you guys kick off again. That short window, how much did that really change the preparation going into a season with a shorter time span between the end of the last game for last year and the kickoff to the next season?
I'd probably say the strength and conditioning, primarily the strength portion, of being able to get into a weight room consistently. We haven't been in there in a couple weeks just because obviously there's some different parameters with COVID and all that. And so I'd say that strength that and injury prevention type workouts that you do all summer long and try to keep consistent with that. I'd say that's definitely unique to what we have going on right now. One thing that we did have going for us is, I think we had one senior that started last year, and so we're very familiar with the kids on what they can and can't do. And when you're out there at practice, it's great having that amount of kids that are returning that got that experience 5 months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a nice returning group. And we'll dive into some of those guys and the roster for you this year. You guys do get a little bit of a longer window leading into, obviously, the first kickoff to the season. And I know last year there were some interruptions because of COVID-19 health and safety protocols for you guys last year. I talked the other day after practice with Logan Kloffenstein, and he said one of the things that has really been a focus is the conditioning getting ready for the start of the season. Last year, a lot of issues with cramping up and guys maybe not quite in game shape yet for you. You feel like this year you guys have a better lead up going into the season than obviously what you had to deal with last year?
Yeah, going into our first game last year, it was the best shape we'd been in, and it was something we'd focused on last year, that area that we wanted to improve upon. But without rewriting history here, they all got sent home for 10 days, and due to being quarantined. And so when you have the kids up to a certain amount of conditioning, and then they got to take 7 to 10 days off and come back and play South Medford after not doing anything, that probably led to the cramping more than anything. Was that downtime that we had to take after getting ramped up and sending them home and asking them to sit on a Zoom call for class for 7 days. There wasn't a whole lot of activity for those kids, but yeah, we hope that that's something that we can stay consistent with as far as part of getting them ready for game one.
What have numbers been like for you? I saw some photos about the youth camp, which looked well attended, which is awesome there. But as you get into the high school makeup of what you guys always try to run with 3 teams there, how is the program looking with the turnout for this season?
Very pleased. Our freshman turnout, we're probably around 25 or so. Obviously, those aren't the numbers that people were getting 15, 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago. That's a solid number for us. We'd always like more, but that's a solid number. I'd say we lost a couple kids that didn't end up turning out. We talk about the good thing that we got a lot of returning starters coming back, and if you weren't one of those kids that was a starter last year, you probably looked out and saw that, hey, there's probably not a ton of opportunity for me to get playing time, and maybe they found something else and other interests popped up, and who knows. So we lost a little bit of our depth that we'd like to see, and so we'll see how that pans out. But obviously the guys that started and played a ton last year, they're all out there chomping at the bit. So we'll move forward with what we got and just see what happens.
Yeah, we talked with Dave Heuberger, head coach of the Roseburg High School football program here on Off the Wall, presented by BTB Moving. The returning experience, obviously not something you had last year with only one senior really on that program, and that was about it for your returning starters. Some guys that got a little bit of time, but not a whole lot of experience the year before. Obviously a different situation for you than this year. How comfortable does that make you with where your team's at going through the fall camp period with so many guys that have come back that were with you and got a lot of time on the field last year?
Well, we won one game, so it doesn't make me feel entirely great, but I know that what we have, and they know us. And obviously last year we treated that season a little bit differently due to where we were at experience-wise. We know what our kids can do at outside linebacker. We know what we got at D-line. We know those positions. So there's not that normal anxiety of, who are we going to plug in where. We kind of have that piece put together a little bit earlier than normal. And so it's just getting them even more comfortable and getting their reads and progressions quicker and all that. So obviously it's obviously with the relationship piece, the kids better. It's easier to coach them. They're on board. So we're excited about that piece and moving forward, working with them.
So do you notice where you're at right now in fall camp? And I know it's still kind of it's early. We still got a little bit of time left to go before that first game kicks off. But do you feel like you guys are better along before the first game of the season than maybe where you were at this point last year leading? Obviously, there was a lot of extenuating circumstances around where you were at leading into that first game, I guess. So, but just knowledge of kind of the playbook and do you feel like you've been able to maybe install more this year because of all that experience and your knowledge of what these kids can do?
Yeah, and I think we're being smarter about what we're installing based off of what we know about the kids. So after knowing how that kid could fit into a scheme or into a specific play call and what we're asking them to do. And so, you look at last year, there was 4 sophomores starting on that offensive line playing 6A football. That's not they're back. They're, most of them put on 15, 20 pounds. They got to see what that tempo looked like when you played a North Medford, a South Medford, a Grants Pass. They got to see that, whoa, this is 6A football. And I think that it brought up their level of practicing as far as their intensity of what they needed to practice at and the intensity that they needed to play at on a Friday night. That's that's a new world for a lot of those guys last year, and I think that was a big growth set for them to see and experience, because I think they practice a lot better because of knowing what they're having to get ready for on Friday nights.
Skill players always a big thing, but for high school sports, being able to have the big bodies down in the trenches is a big piece to success at any level of football. How are you guys doing? I know you talked there about you had some young guys and they maybe put on some weight, but how are things looking in the trenches? Can you give us an idea of what you guys have down there and what maybe some of the guys that you're looking to be kind of key players for you in the trenches?
Yeah, Hayden Snyder will be a senior. Coaches have been pretty high on him. He got injured against South Medford and didn't play the rest of last year. He's back. You got Tiger Black back on both sides of the ball there. You got Kyler Mills. You got some guys that have a year experience underneath their belt, and I think we can go, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 deep on the offensive line, where the last 2-3 years we were lucky if we were truly had 5 that we were comfortable with throwing out on a Friday night playing 6A football. And so we're excited that we have, some competition within there. And so those guys are all doing an extremely good job. Silas Kincaid's back as a starter on the offensive line. And, last year, a lot of those guys, we kind of tried to keep going one way just because it was so much for them. And some of them are getting to play some D-line this year now that they're a year older and, can handle more on their plate. So it's kind of fun getting to see them play on the opposite side of the ball as well.
Getting to expand their own playbooks is a little bit there and focus on both sides, which is cool for sure. Skill position wise, who are going to be some of the key returners for you guys and for Roseburg that will be critical to your success this season out at those skill positions?
You probably start with a Landon Duper. With his speed and his ability to stretch a defense, we need to get him more touches, and we need to get more creative on how we get him those touches. You have a Colton Marsters who's been taking reps at quarterback. Tatone will be back, and he's kind of a kid we can use in multiple areas out on the field. So we're kind of moving him and Marsters all around while they're competing for that, starting job at quarterback. But they're going to both be on the field at the same time, and so we're kind of excited about some possibilities there, and the fact that they, give us some versatility back there. Running back's kind of up in the air right now. We're kind of sorting through that on who's going to step up and be able to play that position. We have, a sophomore that we really like, and, some seniors that are reliable and have been there and kind of know what that Friday night atmosphere looks like. So just kind of got to let a couple of those battles kind of take care of themselves over the next 2.5 weeks and go from there.
Talking with Dave Heuberger here from Roseburg High School. A couple more minutes with him as we get ready to get ready for the Roseburg football season and preview what's to come. Last year, you guys were young. What do you expect from the rest of the conference going in this year? I know there was definitely some talent that graduated from some of these other programs. Then there's the Sheldon that you guys didn't see last year. What are you looking at with the Southwest Conference? What are your expectations leading into this season?
You've talked about it for years. That Southwest Conference, it's there's only 5 or 6 teams, and those other 5 teams are pretty darn good football programs. It's not somebody that you're walking into and you're saying, hey, that's somebody we're going to pencil in we're going to have to work hard to compete against those teams. Last year South Medford won our league, and take away that last 2-3 minutes when we were cramping up and had things we were ahead of them with 2-3 minutes to go, against the team that won our league last year. So it's a dogfight, in our league between Grants Pass and, North Medford has some kids, and Sheldon, I haven't seen them in a year, so I'm not overly sure what they're looking like. But at the end of the day, there's no cupcakes in that league schedule. North Medford's pretty high on who they have coming back, and I'm sure Sheldon has some kids, and, Bill Singler will have something to say about that down at South Medford. Always does a great job down there. And Grants Pass is always going to have, 175 kids that they can roll out on you on a Friday night. So we're looking forward to competing against them, and we're looking forward to knocking some of them off this year. It'd be a great opportunity with a class that has some experience, and I think we have speed. where where we need some speed, and I think we it's the best up front we've been, and so I think that helps. We were able to talk Jason Baker into coming back and helping out with the O-line. I think that's been a huge thing for our kids and for our program to convince him to get back out there and help us out with that. And the entire staff being back, that consistency, we're excited about it, and we're very optimistic about where we fall in that league.
Looking at your non-conference schedule, Summit at home, Mountain View and Southridge on the road, and then back at home against McMinnville to wrap it up before you get into Southwest Conference play. Thoughts about the teams you guys were able to put on, and then you do finish out the season against Springfield in that last game of the season, and a non-leaguer there as well. The teams you guys were able to put together to fill out the entire schedule, what do you think about the competition you're going to be seeing there?
Yeah, you got some teams in there with some rich tradition. Mountain View, we've obviously faced quite a bit the last couple of years. Haven't really seen much of Summit, but played McMinnville a couple of years ago. Southridge, and Springfield. Obviously, those are teams those are games that I think when the AD sat down and they tried pairing up schools to create competitive football games, I think that those are the teams that we should be competitive with and be able to play some sound football against. And so we're excited about that opportunity. Obviously, you never know who moved into a town or moved out of a town or whatnot, and so you always have that wild card when you're playing non-league opponents, and so just an opportunity. Hopefully, we just get that opportunity to get through these next couple of weeks and have that first home game at Summit. It'd be pretty fun.
We are looking forward to it, and I think going to be fun to get a chance to hopefully get to see the whole atmosphere back together as well. Maybe are we expecting? Obviously, fans, it looks like, should be back at the games, unlike what we saw some of last year. But things like cheerleaders and pep band and stuff like that, is it going to be a normal raucous Friday night at the football field? That as long as, I guess maybe as far as as of right now, that's the plan?
Correct. And I mean, you've talked about that for a couple of years now. What a great atmosphere that is. By the time you get the band, the cheerleading, the students in the stadium, it's a part of growing up. Part of being a high school kid is going, whether you're on the team or cheering for them or whatever, you're there on a Friday night, and it's part of that being a kid. And so I think that'll be, to get, like we said, try to get these kids back to as normal as possible. I think it's going to be pretty exciting to see that all come together as a community event here in Roseburg.
Yeah, absolutely. I know obviously a lot of focus gets put on the football team that's out there playing the game, but the pep band and the cheerleaders put in a lot of work throughout the week to get ready for that Friday night to perform as well, and definitely was a missed aspect of what we saw last year in that shortened spring season. And you guys got a schedule that's going to give us plenty of opportunities to be at home, which is pretty cool too. So I'm happy about that and excited about what's to come as we get ready for Roseburg High School football. It'll start on September 3rd, the kickoff to high school football for pretty much most varsity teams throughout the state. Roseburg will be at home against Summit, and you'll be able to follow the action right here on The Score or watch on 541radio.com. But that first week of the season would be great to see a very packed Finlay Field rooting on Roseburg as the orange and black get out there. You guys do, real quick so that maybe people know, you guys do have an orange and black game coming up next week, a scrimmage to start getting some of the excitement ready for the season. What are the details on that if people want to come out and catch the team before the season kicks off?
Yeah, like I said, at this point, they can show up, watch a scrimmage, see what we've been putting in, and offers us an opportunity to have them, perform in front of some people and have some fans in the stand and try to create a, almost like a preseason game for them, split up the roster a little bit. And, it's obviously a little bit controlled being that it's us versus us, but it's see the work that these kids have put in. They give up 3 weeks of their summer, come out here, 100-degree weather. That you want to talk about tough kids that love football. What a great opportunity to watch them hone their craft before the season kicks off.
There we go, and that's coming up next Friday, not a week from today, right? For the Orange
Correct.
and Black? Yeah, okay.
Correct.
6 o'clock start time for that one there at Finlay Field. Coach Dave Heuberger joining us here on the program. Coach, really appreciate all the time and the insight into the program, and look forward to talking plenty more coming up throughout the season.
Yep, same here. I appreciate it, Joey.
All right, that is Coach Dave Heuberger here with us on the program. It's Off the Wall presented by BTB Moving. We'll come back with our final segment on a Friday. Stick around. We've got more to wrap up here on the Score, 92.3 FM and 14.